sign-ups I put up here. Are you guys ready? This week, I think this week I'm going to talk about praying the truth, and I think next week Brian may or may not. It's not a guarantee. Talk about hearing the truth, and but we'll get to that in a second. Are you guys ready? All right. How many of you guys know if you're not intentional about something, like, do you guys know the saying, let me see if I can get it right. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Has anybody ever heard that saying? I don't need to learn that anymore. Like, I understand that to be true. And how many of you guys know, like it is so easy. Like, the summer went by. Did anybody have plans with their kids they didn't do? Like, you have these ideas that, like, you want to get, I really want to do this with my children, or do this or do that. Like, I wanted to go camping with Brecken, but not really, but for his sake I wanted to. It just didn't happen. But, like, once a year, I'm very intentional about, he gets a map in the mail. The map is from a dead, great-great-grandfather. It's a treasure map, leads somewhere, and we get to the top. He's not in here. It's actually from me. It's a letter from me. Dead people can't send letters. And it's a he hasn't figured that out yet, but it's a map, and, like, this year it was to Mount Gretna. Have you guys ever gone up the observation tower at Mount Gretna? It's like 8 stories high, and we're on the way up there, and he is so excited because there's treasure up there, and we're walking up this hill. It's a pretty sharp incline. This is what he says. He goes, "Hey, Dad," he goes, "thanks for taking me here." And I was like, "Oh," you know what I mean? Because, like, there wasn't because usually when I say, like, when he says thank you, I have to make him say thank you. Does that make sense? And so it's usually a forced, or it's like he's saying thank you to get out of trouble, or he's saying thank you because he wants more. Well, there's no more. There's no motive behind saying thanks. But then I realized that he's actually in the moment, and for his sake, I'm glad that he's thankful. Does that make sense? So he's actually with his dad. He's actually climbing a mountain. He's going to go find treasure at the top of this observation tower that's 8 stories up in the air, and he is thankful in his heart that he gets to be here. And I mean, it just blew me away, because that's very rare that a child would actually be in touch with reality. How many of you guys have had children who, you could take them to Disney World, and that night they're like, "What are we doing?" And it's like, "Well, we're going to bed. We were just at Disney World." And they're like, "Yeah, but can I get a snack or something? Maybe some ice cream?" And it's like, man, they are just an empty well that you just throw money and snacks into. But for that moment, at that time, he was very thankful, and I was excited for him. And so there's a reality that was taking place around him. He saw that reality and then gave thanks to his father, and he was able to perceive it. And I'm telling you, it's rare. It's not like when I start talking about praying the truth and what that actually means, there's a reality around you that you either can perceive or you don't perceive it. And if you're not intentional around perceiving it, you don't perceive it. You guys following me? So there's your ability to actually be able to see what's actually true, or you wake up and just let the day roll, and you kind of are failing out of the gate at not being able to see how lucky and how fortunate and how blessed you actually are as a human being. That you are actually even a human being, and that you actually exist, and that God's real, and he's blessed you in every way. And that, like, you have senses that work, and hands that move, and body parts that do things, and a heart that beats, and lungs that breathe, and it's absolutely a miracle, and it's amazing. But you could just wake up and be like, "Here we go again." Praying for me used to be a chore, in the sense where I was not looking forward to it, and it was something that I felt like God liked when I did it. For some reason, like, God really likes my prayers and me saying stuff to him. And it's like, I don't enjoy doing it, but I'll go and talk to him because he must like it. Because he keeps telling me to do it, right? And you go back to the whole thank you thing with Brecken, like, well, my dad, I'm not really thankful, but I'll say thank you because apparently my dad likes it when I do that because he's always telling me to be thankful. It's kind of like where I was at with my prayers. But what I did not realize the power that's actually in a spoken word actually coming out of your mouth. It's quite incredible to get alone when nobody else is around and begin to speak out what is true just between you and him. And you don't have to be there. That's the whole thing. You don't have to go and pray. You don't have to do it, but the fact that you're doing it is everything. Because you're actually saying, you know what? Right now, at this time, I'm going to seek you first when nobody else is looking, and you and I are going to get alone, and I'm going to express to you how blessed I am because you're my God, and I'm actually here because you thought of me and thought it was a good idea for me to be here. And see, if you don't do that, then you wake up and your day just starts going, and then you just are responding to your day. And if you think you're actually going to be able to love somebody that day, I mean, it's beyond foolish, because love is a person and the truth is a person. And if you don't get alone with that person, you can't have love or the truth. All you'll have is yourself. And all yourself is an empty pit that people throw money and snacks into. And I mean, I don't know what you guys think about. I'll tell you what I think about. I get to tell you guys what I think about all the time. A lot of people, what they think is love, if it's not born of God, then it isn't love. And we need to understand that. Like, you can be nice to somebody because it's better that you treat them nice for you. And for the relationship's sake, but the relationship's sake is for you. You can be married for 30 years and you're like, you never cheated on the person and you cared for them, but you've just learned the rules of the game and how to make life best for you. And it's just better that you just be nice to this person. You're thinking about the same stuff I'm thinking about. So it's just better for you that it goes, but it's just about you just making sure that you get it as smooth as you can find it. And that's not love. But you could think it'd be love. But it's not if it's not of him, if it's not the denial of self. And I don't know how you deny yourself without praying. I don't know how you get plugged in without prayer. I just don't understand. And let me tell you, you're not plugged in. If you're not plugged in, you can't see. If you can't see, then you can't be thankful. And if you're not thankful, then you're just full of yourself. And if you're just full of yourself, you'll spend your whole life needing and just sucking other people dry. Because you have an issue or you have a problem and you're here for me. Meanwhile, you were born to be here for them. Does that make sense? And freedom, and absolute freedom, just comes from the fact it's like, if we're in need of something from God, as if he hasn't given us all things, if we're in need of something from somebody, or some circumstance, or something to go our way, you are enslaved, hands down, period. If you don't have a prayer life, you are enslaved. Just blunt. There's no other option. You can't even see without him. Do you guys mind if I just I'm going to read you a sobering passage, okay? And there's two things you can do with the passage, okay? And I'll tell you them after I read it. Is that okay? I'm going to read from Revelations 3:16 and 19. John is writing to churches. Let me just give you the background here. John's writing to churches. These churches are, 5 of them are doing very poorly, 2 of them are doing pretty good. Okay? The reason why Jesus is a great father is because when a father sees something that's wrong, he calls it out and says, this is wrong, it's not going to go well, there's going to be consequences with this, you need to stop and you need to change, here's what you need to do. He puts it all in there. Isn't that cool? It's a good dad. He doesn't spring them on them one day when they died. You guys screwed up. Now you're really going to get it. And I actually was keeping things a secret from you to see what your hearts were like. No, he immediately jumps into action, tells these churches, hey, here's what's wrong, and here's what you need to fix. Are you guys ready for this? He's talking to Laodicea right now. It says this, so because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, see what they did is they incorporated Jesus into their life. Like, do you guys understand when I say that, what I mean? They're not living from Jesus Christ crucified. They've incorporated Jesus into their life a little bit. And so their conscience are okay with how they're kind of doing things because they're doing Christianity some of the time. But they're not living from Jesus Christ crucified because they don't actually have a prayer life. If they had a prayer life, this wouldn't even be existing, the stuff that he has to say. So I'm going to read it to you. You guys ready? So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth, because you say, I am rich and have become wealthy, and I have need of nothing. See, this is what they did. They said, circumstantially, in this season, everything's going right. Have you guys ever had it? Has anybody ever backed off prayer because things were going right? Which is the evidence of why you were praying in the first place, was because of yourself. Make sense? But you're going to have great seasons, and you're going to have some hard seasons. They're in a great season. It's a very rich city. He says, I advise you to buy from me gold. I'm sorry, go back up there. And you do not know that you are wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. Do you guys see that? Now you might just say, like, well, come on, man, we're all just sons of God and everything's fine. That's true, but there's a place that you can take your relationship and neglect God and try to handle this life yourself and put on yourself, but still claim his name. That's what's going on here. Do you guys understand that? And so then there's something that you do here. You might say, well, you know, like these must be non-Christians. No, this is a church. He's writing to a church. These are Christians he's talking about. Yeah, I know that Christian. That's the kind of Christian that's my neighbor. It's like, well, hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. Can you see? Do you see? Do you love and do you see the truth? And do you have a plan around seeing that truth? Because I'm telling you, if you don't have a plan around it, then you don't see it. Then you are blind. You guys hearing me? It's your only option. I advise you to buy from me gold refined by fire that you might become rich. Because what they value actually isn't valuable, but what God has is very valuable. And white garments that you may clothe yourself. Sorry, I made that red. It's hard for me to see. That you may clothe yourself, and that the shame of your nakedness may not be revealed. And eye salve to anoint your eyes that you may see. To whom I love, I reprove, and I discipline. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. You guys following this? So why is he reproving them? Because he loves them, right? If you could just could you imagine how excited you are? You got a letter from John, and like John's pretty much a rock star in this thing, walked with Jesus, and let's just say like, I'm trying to think of like a big name nowadays. Like if Billy Graham kind of like wrote us a letter and he sat in here one Sunday, we didn't know he did, and he was just kind of writing us a letter to tell us how we were doing. You know, it'd be pretty exciting to read that. And they're in the dark, they're in this catacomb or something, and he goes ahead and he reads this letter, and it's just basically like, you guys are doing terrible. And the reason why I'm telling you that you're doing terrible is because it's possible that you actually be awesome. Because who you actually are is awesome. But if you don't come to me to receive eye salve, then I can't show you. Do you guys ever see how high the standard is in the Bible? This is what people do with the Bible, and I can't stand it myself. What they do is they look at the high standard and they say, oh, well, Jesus, that's only Jesus could reach that standard. No, he says, follow me. He says, come up. Here, I'll equip you. I'll clean the inside of the cup. I'll give you a new heart. I'll write my laws on it. I'll actually give you my righteousness. You can put that on. You can take off the old and put on the new. Now come and follow me. But people don't see that. And because they don't have eyes to see, what they say is oh, like I'm a miserable, wretched person, and that's all I see. And like, so being miserable and wretched is normal and it's fine. And he died so that I could be miserable and wretched. And that is not Christianity. Christianity is not also so that things could go your way. My son went to kindergarten, and it's one of those things where I was telling some people this morning. It's like, how many of you guys ever got picked on in school? That ever happen to anybody? I got picked on too. And I told you guys before, I had a stage, awkward face, from 11 to 16, where your face is trying to find itself and settle in. It took this face a good 5 years to find itself. Braces. Whew. But, why was I saying all that? Because of Brecken. I was preparing myself just in case he got picked on, because that can be quite the foothold of the enemy. But I'm not afraid of the circumstances that are coming his way. In fact, I don't need things to be smooth for Brecken. Things are going to be hard. And there's going to be hard things that come, but I get to have conversations with him about the hard things that are coming. Does that make sense? And so there's a fathering that's going to take place. And everything in Brecken's world right now, I've been watching his prayer life. It's not going too good. And everything in this world does not reflect the love of God. In fact, it reflects the opposite. The only thing that does are those who actually are a reflection of God, and those who are a reflection of God are those who go and meet with him. You guys following me? Your whole goal and why you're here is so that you could actually be a reflection of God on the earth. But you could think that you're here for some other reason, and it's just not true. You'd be shocked when you die. Stand before him one day. I've heard people say this, when I see him, I've got a few questions. Oh, man. That was a good impression. All right. Matthew 19:23 through 26. So the reason why I pray is because if I don't pray, I don't even see. I can't even see. And I don't mean physically, I mean spiritually. That means I'll make it about myself. Has to become about myself. I was supposed to deny myself. That's the first step of Christianity. If I don't pray, I don't even take a step with Christ. Not one single step. Never not praying. Never not meeting with him, declaring, I'll show you guys what I do in prayer at the end of this thing. But I'm never not going to meet with him and declare what's true. Never happening. Do you know what the option is? Just make it about yourself and what you need and how things are going. I know how things are going to go out there. I know that this is not the Garden of Eden, guys. Did you guys know that? But he put the kingdom of heaven in me, and I'm supposed to release it. Only reason why I'm here. Could you imagine? Is Erica in here? All right, let's get into it then. Seriously, it says, husbands, love your wives. Period. It's my job description. There's nothing that comes after that. Thank God, because that's all within my power. Did you guys know that? That means that I don't need them to participate in the role that God gave me. Someone want to say it again? Amen. That means that I can just do that. I can do that without their participation. Which means I never have an excuse not to do it. Could you imagine, fellas, listen to me. Could you imagine if it said this? Husbands, love your wives and make sure that they show you the proper amount of respect. Could you imagine if it said that? That was a command from the Lord? How would you do that? If it said that, my goodness. And I was calling men in. I was like, well, you're not obeying this one command. I didn't see your wife open the door for you when you came into church, and I want to talk to you about that. You need to make sure she's respecting you more. It's your job. Thank goodness. Thank goodness it only takes one to tango in this thing. I love my wife, and she's awesome, and she's incredible. Please don't hear me. But I thank God that I don't have to wake up to see how she's doing, to see if I'm going to be able to do my part. Right? I have my part. She has her part. Don't need her to do her part. It's between her and the Lord, right? And I got my part. And Jesus said to his disciples, truly I say to you, it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And again, I say to you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. Listen to this. And for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. And when the disciples heard this, they were astonished and said, then who can be saved? And looking upon them, Jesus said to them, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Now watch this. The only thing of value in heaven is your acts of love from a pure motive towards the people in this world. Only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is impossible to do without him. You will not receive a single reward on your own. You need God to do what God wants you to do. In fact, you can't do it without him. Everything that you would want to do for God is impossible to do without God. Why would you ever wake up and not get with God? To not get with God is to literally not get with God. So what are you going to meet all day? Probably impossibilities. Or possibilities, depending on whether you wake up and get with him. Make sense? You guys are getting it. Okay, praying the truth. I don't know if this hits anybody else in the eyes. This is basically what it's saying. Until you come to him, you don't have ears to hear or eyes to see. If you don't go to him, you don't have ears to hear or eyes to see. Who's signing up for that? If you don't go to him, that's what you're signing up for. You're like, hey, I'll take spiritual blindness and deafness. That sounds good. That'll really be good for my marriage and my parenting. I'll do that. Hey, I'll wake up and not pray. I'm sure that'll go really well. And I'll take classes about how to have a better life, but I won't get the life, nor will I have life to give because I don't wake up and get with him. Never. Never doing that. John 8:31 through 32. You guys listening? Jesus therefore was saying to those Jews who had believed him, if you abide in my word, then you are truly disciples of mine. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. If you don't have a plan around getting with him, then you're saying, hey, I'll sign up for bondage. That bondage thing seems pretty good. I'll be in need with my spouse. I'll make sure that I treat them the way they treat me. I'll look at what's wrong with them and what I'm not receiving. Hey, I'll sign up for that. I'll go to work and look at how everybody else is benefiting and look how I'm not. And I'll be a miserable wretch. That sounds good. That's the plan. Without him, how do you abide in his word? I don't know, maybe get with him and say it back to him a little bit, right? Get plugged in. Without abiding in his word, you become imprisoned to something else. You guys get it? All right. Ephesians 3:17 through 19, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, and that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and the length and the height and the depth, and to know the love of Christ, which surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled up to the fullness of God. Yeah, but what do you want me to do? Be filled up with the fullness of God? Yes. You can get to a place where you understand, like, this is such easy stuff. And I know you guys get it. I know this is just kind of review, so forgive me. But watch this. When you know in your heart that God loves you, you absolutely do not need somebody else to. When you believe that you're loved by God, it's bizarre to think that somebody else is somehow going to get it done, or something, some circumstance or something like that. Like, oh, if only this could happen. If only this were to come true. How about this? How about the God of the universe take on the form of a man and die on your behalf so that you could live with him forever? How about that for circumstance? And waking up and living that out every day. Believing it in your heart and seeing it clearly and being like, oh, you know, before you head to work. And you walk into work and the God of the universe has died on your behalf. Not just so you could be forgiven, but be filled up with him. It's kind of a good gig, right? And it's available, but it's this. It's peekaboo. You either can see it or you can't. Doesn't mean it's not true or it is true. It is true. You can either see it or you can't see it. And you can't see it on your own. Okay. Do you guys mind if I just kind of show you guys my plan around prayer? You guys ready? I have incredible amounts of ADD. Just massive amounts. And so it's not like, well, I'd pray, but I have ADD. No, if I had to climb that mountain, so do you. So I give about a half hour to the Lord in the morning. And that doesn't mean I don't pray throughout the day or at work or anything. It just means that there's a time set aside. It's the first thing because he says, seek me first. Keeps my conscience clean. Keeps me seeking after him. And I just get with him. And for about anywhere between 5 to 8 to 9 minutes, it's just me talking. And what it is that I'm saying is exactly what it is that he's done and what that means and who he is and all that kind of stuff. And it sets me in the reality. There's a true reality that I want to see every day, but if I don't speak it, I don't get to see it. Does that make sense? How many of you guys know that you're a new creation? But it only matters if you know that you're a new creation when you need to act new in a certain situation. So you either can see it or you don't. Psalms 23. This is just something that I've just been praying lately. And I was asking the Lord, is there something that you want me to pray? And he took me to Psalms 23. I know it can be cliche, but I started praying this over myself. And it's real simple. So I have the same place that I pray. It's in the dining room downstairs, and I have a table. And the reason why I walk is because if I don't walk, I could start thinking, and I'm not there to think. Because if I start thinking, then I'm still going to start thinking about my day. So all I do is walk around my table. And it's the same scenery over and over again. I know what it looks like. Nothing in the room fascinates me. I know what my living room looks like, right? So I'm not distracted. And I just steady walk around this dining room table and I talk to God. And I set myself in this reality. I'm about to set myself in this reality. You guys ready? Okay. Father, I want to thank you because you're my shepherd. And you really do care about me as your sheep. And there's nothing in this world that I want. There's nothing in this world that will ever come close to satisfying. There's nothing that this person or that job that I have will ever do. I don't need things to go my way today to be excited. I'm excited because I'm here with you. And I'm here talking with you. And the reason why I'm here is because I want to be here. And so I just thank you. And you're amazing. And this is rest. This is the only thing that will give rest. There's nothing out there. There's no circumstance or there's no person that's ever going to give me rest, but you give me rest. And you make me lie down, and I'm even the peace that I'm just feeling right now. I just want to thank you for that. I thank you that you've handled everything. Thank you that I don't have to worry about my future. I thank you that when I die, I'm going to be with you. I thank you for the peace that I'm experiencing right now. I want to thank you for doing what you're doing right now in my soul. I thank you that you've made a path of righteousness for me and that Jesus Christ has laid down his life, not just so I could be forgiven, but so I could live the way that he lives. And he lived in a righteous way. And I thank you that I've been made righteous. Now let me live it, God. I want to live righteously before men. I want to live in such a right way that when I'm shining in front of people, they say, what's going on with that guy? And I get to tell them about you. And there's nothing in this world I fear. There's nothing that could happen to me today that's going to put me off. No circumstance. I'm here to serve you for the rest of my days. I'm not here so that everything goes bright and shiny for my family. Father, I thank you that it's your will that things go well. But even if things don't go well, if this whole world collapses, it's you and me serving you for the rest of the days of while I'm here. I'm not here for what you can do for me. I'm here because you made me and you created me, and now I want to live for you, God. And I'm thankful. And I'm here, and because I'm here receiving from you, people are going to see what I don't need from them. And it's not arrogant, and it's not boastful or prideful. It's I'm getting my fill right now. I'm getting my bread right now. Everything that I would need in a day, this is the only thing that I have to get done this day. And I'm doing it. And my heart's to do it, and so I want to thank you. Thank you for bringing me along. Thank you for bringing me this far in this life that now I see what actually is the bread of life. And I thank you, God. And I thank you that I know what the enemy's voice looks like, that you've anointed my head with oil and that nothing can get in there, There's nothing that the enemy can throw at me that's going to put me off. I know who I am. I know what feelings I have. I know that I have peace and joy. I know that I don't have bitterness. I know that I don't have anger. I know that I'm not wrathful or lustful. And so I just want to thank you, God, that I'm putting off the old and I'm putting on the new, and I actually am yours, and I am exactly like you. Now let me live it, God. Would you please help me to live it? Your goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. You know, I'm not owed a single thing, God. I've read the Bible. There's nothing that I'm owed, yet you've given me everything. Nobody owes me a thing, and you've given me everything. And in the midst of that, God, the worst thing that could possibly happen to me today is that I die and go and be with you. It's an easy day. And I want to thank you for everything that you've put in my life. Amen. And so now I'm plugged in. Do you guys get it? And I was just kind of following Psalms 20. I didn't read Psalms, but I was just kind of using that as things that are true, that I understand to be true with him. If I don't get plugged in, and so then what do? So like, how long was that? Maybe 5 minutes? Now I sit down, I got a Bible, I got a journal, and I'm asking to hear from the Lord. I'm saying, God, is there anything that you want to tell me today? Is there anything that you want to do through me today? If I find myself not hearing anything, and I'll give it time, or if I found myself daydreaming, I'm back up and I'm marching again. Because I'm not there to daydream, I'm not there to think. I'm there to be with God. Does that make sense? And like, well, how do you know what to pray? Like, well, when you read Scripture, it just starts to get in your heart. Are you guys familiar with John 14? What it says about being a tree and he's the vine and we're the branches? I mean, just even John 14, I mean, pick out a chapter of the Bible, just read it and just speak it over yourself. Father, I thank you that you're the branch, that you're the vine and I'm actually the branch, and you and I are made up of the same stuff. And that I'm an extension of you on the earth. And my whole job to be here on this earth is to show this world that I have fruit and then point them back to the vine. And Father, I thank you. And you promised me that you would prune me. And Lord, if there's anything that you have to say to me today, if there's any pruning that needs to take place, if there's any rebuke or anything that you need to say to me, please say it, because I'm here to produce lots of fruit for you. And I thank you that I'm not going to be some branch that's cut off and thrown into the fire. That's not going to be me. No way. I'm going to produce lots of fruit because I'm meeting with you, and you're going to prune me, God. Holy Spirit, thank you for teaching me. Thanks for leading me. Thanks for guiding me. Thanks for putting up with me. You've been so patient. I'm just so thankful. God, you're so good. And you just continue to let what's in your heart come out of your mouth. Do you guys think you can do that? Yeah? Well, what if Adam, I don't know if I could pray like that. Then do this. Here's Ephesians 1. Are you guys ready? Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places in Christ. Father, I want to thank you that you've blessed me with every spiritual blessing. Just as he chose us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and blameless before him in love. Father, thanks for making me holy and blameless in your love. Just thank him for what Scripture says. Did you guys see that, holy and blameless? Did anybody see that? It's good stuff. And you can just grab a hold of what Scripture says and just let it come out of your mouth. Because if you don't pray the truth, then you won't walk in the truth, because truth is actually a person. And if you don't meet with that person, how could you ever follow him? It's impossible, it says. With man, it's what? Impossible. But with him, it's possible. So that's what we're going to do. How many of you guys have a conviction around prayer? Raise your hands. Yeah? Good job. Do you guys mind? I'm actually going to ask Brian. Do you have your mic? I'm going to ask Brian to come forward. I'm going to go ahead and just pray and close, and then Brian's going to announce what we're doing up here, okay? So, Father, I just thank you. I thank you for every person in this place. I thank you for the truth, and I thank you that we get to be able to speak it. I thank you that we get to meet with you, and that when we meet with you, we actually get empowered by you, and that we actually are caused, our eyes are opened and our ears open, and we actually get to see what's true. And the fact of the matter is that we're beyond blessed. Every single person in this place has countless of blessings, whether they see them or not, but we can get lost in them. So I just thank you for all your gifts and all your love and your mercy. God, bless this group as they continue to seek you in prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay. Can I have our